Hi, I'm Jamie, and welcome to Sci-Fi-Vision Presents Fandom Access. We have our special guest, Sydney Cole Alexander from Severance today. Hi, thanks for joining us. This is my co-host, Karen Mole.
Hi.
So I guess just to start out, why don't you talk about how did you get involved in the show?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Jamie and Karen. It's so nice to meet you. I auditioned for the show. Wow, how long ago was it? Like 4 years ago. So it was just a classic audition back in the day when we were in the room for auditions. And I went in, I did, I believe it was two scenes. And about a week later, I heard that I had a call back up at the studio with Ben Stiller. And I was like, oh my God, so nervous, so excited. And so I went in, did the callback, did it a few times, and then things were paused, obviously, due to what was going on. And I was like the top choice for a while. And I think it took me like 4 months to hear back. Um, and I was just waiting on the edge of my seat for the 4 months, like trying my hardest not to think about it, but it was absolutely impossible not to think about it. And yeah, that was it. That was pretty much the whole story. Just
Is 4
regular
months?
audition process.
I was just going to say, just out of curiosity, is 4 months long? I don't know long it usually takes. You have to wait. That seems like a long time.
It depends. It's not the first time that I've been on hold for a project for that long. I was on hold for a series regular once, and I was also on the edge of my seat, and it was like a 4 month waiting period. Sometimes it can be like a day, or sometimes it can be a few days, weeks, or months. But it is quite a long time. So it really depends on the project and how quickly they're shooting as well.
Now, I wanted to ask you, obviously, there's a lot of mystery around Lumen in general, but also even your character. Were you given more on her backstory I mean, not that you need to tell me what it is, but if you were, that we're not privy to kind of help you develop her? Or do you sometimes make things up because you don't know things in order to play her better?
Yeah, for this particular character, I was given a little bit of backstory about her from Dan Erickson, the creator. He's so detail oriented, and he really has done such a wonderful job of creating these full characters, these rich characters. So he had given me a little bit of insight, and he was really nice about it too. Like, told me like, what do you think? Do you agree? If there's anything that you disagree with, I'm open to it. But I loved what he had given me, and so I kind of built off of that myself and made up my own story about her upbringing and how that determined how she views the world and how she relates to people and what's important to her and what's a threat to her and how does she function. And I did a lot of research about groups, namely cults, and just tried to understand that mindset and listen to some like psychology audiobooks as well to understand like what happens to the brain when you're in a circumstance like that. And so a lot of research on my end and a lot of thought and a lot of writing about what kind of person she is and how she relates to each individual in the corporation and how she feels about relationships generally. So it was a combination of what was given to me, and then I used that kind of as like a backbone to create the rest of the body of the character.
All right, Karen?
That brings me to one of the things I've been really excited to talk to you about is your performance, particularly your physical performance and that look on Natalie's face all the time. I feel like what maybe when I first saw Natalie, I took for like enthusiasm. Now I always feel like God, she's got that smile frozen on her face. We had a chat about so we have a show about every week we do a recap for every episode. And one of our chatters, remember Jamie, someone said, "Oh, this looks like a hostage video." So I've been really curious to ask you about your, like, Patricia Arquette gets to scream and like throw things around and be really emotional. And you portray Natalie through this very stiff kind of presentation with a big smile. And I just wanted to ask you about like face acting.
Face acting, I love that phrase. So the smile in particular was born out of a Crest commercial that I had done that Ben Stiller had seen. So before we shot the first board scene, some time had passed and he had seen a Crest commercial that I did. I actually booked this commercial the same day that I booked Severance. It was like the best day ever. I was so excited. And so I came onto set and he was like, "Hey, Crest girl." And we laughed about it. And during the scene, I had already been smiling in my audition, but it was definitely more of a subtle smile. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew until it was this kind of full on like Cheshire grin. And he just wanted to see the crest smile, like a big, genuine, large smile. So that was the first physical, I think, aspect of Natalie. Then came the way she sat, because I like slouch a little bit. I don't sit as upright as she does. And so I'm often clasping my hands and like really squeezing my shoulder blades together and having super, super stiff posture. And to me, that helped kind of contain her a little bit, to have that physical change, kind of because, the way we hold our bodies might influence how we feel or how we speak. The costume as well. Sarah Edwards is an amazing, amazing creative, and the fabrics are so stiff and so tight and so in. So that helped as well. And then as far as that, the face acting goes, I think that Natalie is very expressive. I'm super expressive as well. So that is a little bit of me. But I think that because she's often not saying her own words, she's often being a kind of almost like a conduit to the gods. I felt that I had to express things through my looks because I don't always have free reign to actually speak myself, and I'm waiting for other people to deliver messages or for me to relay those messages. So that kind of slowly started to happen as I realized that I needed to communicate things that weren't necessarily being seen by anyone. Well, they're being seen by the person I'm in the scene with, but not by the person or, entity or what you have it is that's in my ear that I'm hearing. I'm using very whatever phrases as to not give anything away. So please don't take anything I'm saying.
No, that's fine. That's good. I was going to ask it. I was trying to look to see who else. It was also just me that asked this. When you're filming, is there anybody though actually talking to you to like help you, saying things in your ear, or are you just kind of pretending and talking to yourself completely?
So I am under lumen surveillance and I can't say too much.
I mean, let me rephrase that. I mean, like from an acting
Like
standpoint,
the
is there like
Sydney.
a producer or somebody talking to you? Not in the show. Yeah, I don't mean as part of the actual show, but as
Yeah.
an
So
actress to help you.
for me, I just write down what I believe I'm hearing.
Oh,
Like my page is like filled with notes. So I always just kind of fill in the blanks, and I kind of like Ben and I will play around with like how long I'm waiting. And so that just kind of changes depending on the shot. But I usually just kind of fill out my own idea of what I'm hearing based on what Natalie is saying.
all right, that's fair.
That would
Go
be a
ahead.
great prank. That'd be a great prank for someone to get you a real earphone and say crazy stuff to you when you're trying to
Right.
act.
Yeah, go ahead. Karen. That's a good question.
I wanted to ask you. I mean, I think we probably have gotten this question maybe from a few fans about, so many of your scenes have been with Patricia Arquette
Yeah.
and have also been with the actor who plays Milchick, Trammell Tillman. Does he pronounce it Trammell or Trammell Tillman? Um, uh, you know, two like incredible presences on this show and really different. I think you maybe had more scenes with them than like most of the innies, right? I just want to ask you about working with those guys.
Oh, well, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. Patricia Arquette is just a legend. She is an incredible actor. I remember the first day that I was on set, I was just very captivated by how centered she is and how much she can do while doing so little. Like, even she's such an intense actor, I think, that I was almost surprised by like the low volume of her voice because she's so powerful, and yet she's not moving much or raising her voice at all, but I'm like feeling all of this coming at me. So that made my job very easy, to just be able to listen and respond to her. And Trammell is also just an incredible force of nature. I think he's so hardworking and so specific. And I had a similar feeling with them of just like, wow, just looking into their eyes does so much for me. Because I think when you're auditioning, you're imagining what the other person is saying. You have to make up all these reactions in your head and like play to something that's not actually happening because the person across from you is reading in a more flat way. So I tried to prepare as much as I could, but I didn't want to over prepare in the sense that I'm not sure what that actor is going to give me. And I want to be open to see what they have to offer, and be flexible enough to change my plan so that I'm actually responding to the person in front of me. And I think that Natalie has a very different dynamic with Harmony than she does with Seth, because Harmony, as we see throughout the series, is doing her own thing, is breaking the rules, and Natalie is about the rules, and she's a representative of the board. And, you know, Tramel's character is so by the book that I didn't feel as threatened by him as I did with Cobell, who to me is making my job difficult. Whereas there's another person who is really by the books that's very much on the same page as me. And so I felt like I was able to explore a bit of a softer dynamic with that character.
Talk about specifically that scene with Tramell, with the recanonized paintings, because there's obviously a lot of subtext going on. What was that like filming that? And did the two of you, it sounds like maybe you normally then don't discuss ahead of time what you're planning to do. So how did that scene go?
So that scene, there was a little more discussion. There was some like internal dialogue between Tramell and Dan and producers. And I had spoken with Mark Friedman about it over the phone before shooting the scene. That was a scene where we did have a little bit of discussion before, because we wanted to invite the audience, but not necessarily isolate the audience. So Tramell and I chatted a little bit about the scene before we shot it, and Ben asked us like how we felt about the scene and how do you think your character would respond, and gave us a lot of free reign to explore what we were personally thinking and feeling about it. So we had a little bit of discussion about that scene in particular. I remember like right before we shot, Tramell and I were talking about it, and we tried it a couple of different ways. And I think that I wasn't expecting there to be so much silence, because there's quite a bit of silence in that moment, but it just kind of naturally took longer and longer and longer, that moment, the more that we shot it. And it just felt right to just have a silent conversation about what was going on. And then for Natalie to kind of try to figure out a way to regain her composure as to not break her own character. Because I think that while we see different things happening on her face that we hadn't seen in season 1, she's still Natalie, you know?
Yeah. I think I'm just trying to see what this is. Somebody asked something else specific about that. Nina says, was the look you gave Milchek sort of a cry for help or telling him to get out? That was what they got out of it.
That's a great question. I don't know. And in the moment, I wasn't really thinking necessarily about communicating anything to him. I think what was going through my head, if I can remember properly, was that the way he was looking at me was very straightforward and was without any veneer. In a world where we are constantly communicating things in our communications that are not being said directly. Mm-hmm. And so because his look was so direct and was so pointed, it was like disorienting me and evoking like feelings in me that I didn't want to show, I didn't want to express, and I didn't feel were safe or appropriate to express. And so I was just trying to regain the composure of Natalie, and I wasn't necessarily like planning on communicating anything to him. And I kind of just was in the moment at the time. I do think that there was a bit of a warning though from her of like, the board is always listening and watching. Yeah. As we've seen throughout the show, there's surveillance, they hear things, so I think that it was more of a trying to cover.
Okay. And I was going to say, aggravating bikes 606 had, can you say inclusively recanonized 3 times fast? I can't even say it 1 time right. I feel
this sentence gave me so much anxiety. When I saw the script, I was like, oh my goodness. Sometimes I'll get paranoid that I won't be able to say a word. And that I had to tell myself, like, don't go down that path. So I practiced saying inclusively recolonized. I practiced that over and over and over and over and over again. I do not think I could say it 3 times. It'd be a great tongue twister, though.
Yeah, I don't know. I've probably screwed it up saying it on our other show once. That's what I said. I'm always tripping over my words. Go ahead, Karen.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your wardrobe on the show. You mentioned, I actually thought Natalie was the best dressed person on the show until this last winter episode when Milchek is killing it. Milchek's like out, and that moto jacket that he wore in the previous episode. I mean, but Natalie really has like gorgeous dresses that she wears in the office. You mentioned that that they might be designed a little bit to help you, or that you find them helpful. In the, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite thing that she's worn, or and also is it hard to breathe in some of those?
It's not hard to breathe in them, but I I'm not sure. My favorite costume. Let me think. I I think I wear something in a later episode that is my favorite. But from what we've seen so far, it might be the gala dress. Only because like that was made specifically for me. So it just I love clothes and I love vintage fashion. And so it was so fun to have a dress made for me. So I believe it was Donald Deal who made the dress, and Sarah and I went in for a fitting and tried on different dresses. And we liked one dress's style, but then we liked the color red, and so they changed it. And it was so nice to have something just like made, and it felt like something that Natalie would do, like have a dress made for this event. Um, I would probably just say I love just the suiting in general and like the skirt suits. I'm not someone who wears things like that. And it's really helpful to wear things that I wouldn't normally wear to be a different character. I find that like um, costume helps me a lot. I have a very extensive closet because I love having everything for any character. So it doesn't matter if it's like 1920 or, the future. I have something to wear for my audition. So that was so lovely to just be able to try on all of those pieces and wear things and even colors that I don't normally wear because I don't wear dark green and I don't wear teal. And Natalie wears a lot of those colors. A lot of Lumen employees wear those colors. So it was very helpful to get out of my normal way of dressing to create her, and the stiff fabrics I think helped quite a bit.
Cool, thanks.
We have there's quite a few questions. They're sort of all similar. I'm trying to kind of combine them here. You talked a little bit about making up some of the backstory, but let's see. Alex Sotto asks if there are any memories or life experiences that you added to her because she's so tightly wound and PR polished, and they're fascinated by your ability to merge the personality of a PR manager with the vibes of a cultist. And okay, Energetic Crab's also asking about influences. Oh, and this person also said that many people reference the movie Get Out at the painting scene that we talked about earlier. And Serotonin says every character in limited management team are amazing presentation of different high level positions with a mega corporation, and you portray the head of PR so incredibly well. Do you have experience for this type of work environment, or is Natalie based on anyone you encountered? So yeah, just kind of is there any, I guess, real world influences on her, or even character influences, really?
I wouldn't. I don't really. I don't think I consciously draw from other people's work. So Get Out wasn't something I was thinking about when we were doing the scene at all. But as far as like real world experiences go, definitely. I had worked for a company that kind of felt like a corporate cult. And I remember like going into meetings and like getting these like progress reports and feeling like so horrible when I left. Like everyone was smiling and it was friendly, and there was no distinct behavior or sentence or anything that I could pinpoint that had been offensive or aggressive, but I had felt like I had just been ripped apart when I would leave. And I remember everyone was very committed to this company. And so I definitely drew from that. I thought even when I read the script at first, like, oh, I know this feeling, I know this world, and I understand it in a way where I feel like I can do it justice without it being a joke, that it's actually a real thing. So it wasn't any particular person, but I tried to kind of find that feeling of just kind of viciousness underneath the surface, but also with a bit of sadism that is kind of present. And also just the commitment to doing something, and then the unconscious of knowing of what you're doing because everything is justified. I don't know if that's clear enough because it's kind of an ambiguous, kind of strange feeling because it's so many things at once. It's
Yeah.
friendly, but it's not. It's cruel, but it's warm. And so I just tried to kind of play with what it felt like to be in that room and what did I think was coming at me, and then trying to digest that and then give it back in the same way that I had felt it coming at me.
All right, Karen.
So to change gears a little bit, Severance is a show that I did not watch when it aired in season one, and I came to it in the last few months. It's a show I think has been the time off the air. I feel like maybe almost helped snowball the interest, the long wait between the two seasons, and it seems to really have now kind of like from like really achieved a higher level of notoriety, and I just wanted to ask you about being on like one of the biggest hits on in streaming right now, and what that's been like. I mean, you've been acting for a while. It's not like, your first time maybe being recognized, but this is like another level, right?
It's definitely my first time being recognized. I have been acting for a while. I've been going to performing arts school since I was 13 years old, and I've always wanted to do this. But it's surreal. I still, even when you were saying it, I'm like, it doesn't enter my brain really, because it's strange to feel a dream being fulfilled. I will say that I'm so utterly excited by how happy people are with the show. I am touched and amazed that it means so much to people, that people have theories about it and watch it multiple times, and that they're so excited about it. Like the fan engagement is so beautiful. It's more than I could have ever hoped and dreamed for. And it makes me so excited. I definitely go on the Reddit page and like read all the comments. I think it's so fun. So it's great, I think, as an actor to work on anything, but to have the opportunity and the privilege and the honor to work on a show that people connect to so much, where all of the cast and crew and creatives are so immensely dedicated and hardworking and kind and collaborative, has been such a dream and a joy. And it's a surreal experience for sure, because I knew that the show was going to be good because when I read the script, I loved the script. I think Dan Erickson is a genius, but the reception of the show has been far beyond what I could have ever imagined. So it's almost hard to take in, honestly. It's so lovely.
I was gonna say I started it late too. Some friends I had told me to watch it, and we streamed like I think 6 episodes the first time
Wow.
we did it all at once. Yeah, so we went through quite a lot. We were in Discord watching. No, I love it. So this is kind of connected to that wide angle, and I guess this is in addition to being recognized, I should say. Asked how your life's changed since joining the show. So has anything else that you can think of changed since then, other than being recognized?
Um, I think that doors have opened a little bit more. I think that it's pretty hard to get into the industry. This is not news to anyone, but I think a lot of times it's like, well, what has this person done? Have they done anything before? Because I think to have a role in a show is a big responsibility. A lot of people are depending on you. There's a lot of money on the line. People care about their projects. It's meaningful to them. They're working on shows like Dan, I think, had been working on Severance for 10 years. Like it means something to him. And so I think they're difficult decisions for people to make, who to cast. And I think that after having been on this show, what I've noticed is when I am up for things, people are considering me more, or they're not just like, who is this person? Most of the industry has seen the show because it's so highly anticipated, and it had all these Emmy noms. So I think it's helpful from a business standpoint for people to be like, oh yeah, I've seen her on something. That is a huge moment, I think, for an actor in their career, because there are so many amazing, talented, wonderful, dedicated actors that haven't had their work seen. And so that's been a great benefit to me. I've definitely gotten some jobs because people are like, I'd like to work in Severance, or I've seen you in this show and I'd love to work with all the cast members on Severance. So that's been really helpful, and it's been so, so nice. And I think for me, just as an actor, after having worked with Ben or Patricia and all these wonderful people, it's given me a little bit of confidence to step into auditions and be like, I can do this, like I can audition, I can tell a story. I think it's just given me some confidence, and also just the experience of being on set on such a high caliber show with so many wonderfully dedicated people, and just learning from them. Watching Patricia and Ben work has been so, so wonderful to just see how they work and how professional they are and kind and humble has been such an inspiration.
Um, Karen, do you want me to ask a couple more fan ones? I can go
Yeah,
through.
yeah. Please
I
go.
don't want to keep like go.
Yeah, the fans are the most important questions.
Yeah, I just yeah. If you have any more, just like interrupt me. You go.
Okay.
Tris C/MDR Tris anyway says, do you believe Natalie is working for the board wholeheartedly, or does she have secret reservations? Sometimes she shows a flicker of doubt in that perfect smile.
I believe that Natalie is totally dedicated. I always try to care as much as I can, like with any character. So I think she cares immensely. And if there is any doubt, I don't think it's something that she's conscious of feeling or feels safe enough to bring to the front of her mind. So I think that maybe a lot of people can see that scene in many different ways, but I think that there's a crack for a moment in what she tries to push down, and that shines through, but it's not something that, at least for me at this point in time, at this part of the show, that she's actively pursuing to investigate more. I think that she really, really, really is dedicated to the company, and certain things may come up for her, but she's not really watering those seeds.
Now, this is from the same person. Now, I know you can't say this, so I'm going to say, in your own opinion, how much power do you think Natalie possesses with Lumen? Because she seems like she's more than a spokesperson. So, do you think that it's more than that, or just your own personal thoughts on the character, since you can't?
I mean, I would just say personally, let like here, the board, Lumen, the entity that is Lumen Industries is like God. They're all they're the ones who hold all of the power, just the lumen. And that I'm just a servant, really. I think that Natalie being the face of the company and speaking for the board definitely like is a closer person to the God, but I think that really everyone is serving here.
Do you think, this is just my question, do you think that there actually is like people on the board? I know a lot of people have been talked about, is it really people, is it a consciousness, is it AI, just do you have a theory on that?
No, I
On who
don't
you
have any
actually think to
theory.
know?
I
Do
don't.
you, I was going to say somebody, I
I
forget
think
the,
I think there's no board. I think maybe it's just Kira on the other end. I don't think there's really a board.
I do love seeing all the theories. It's so fun.
What's the
uh,
craziest theory you've ever heard?
Um, the craziest theory. I
it
don't
doesn't
know.
have to be
There's so
specific to that, just
many.
anything that's,
Yeah, there are people who think it's like all happening in Mark's mind, or that they're all robots, or
I
they're
think the
living.
craziest theory was like that like they're like that it's about cloning. I saw a couple cloning theories.
There's a bunch of
there's a
cloning
lot of
theories.
cloning
Yeah,
theories.
there are people who really believe y'all that they're trying to develop cloning, and you're all.
I was going to
Um,
say, Karen, I don't even think I told you yet. I seen on Facebook yesterday somebody said that Dieter Egan is an anagram of AI generated. So now that's a new thing that's going. So
Oh, I haven't read that one.
yeah, I just
There's
read
so
that.
many.
There is quite a lot. Let's see. Okay, unique tackle 5611. And I know you can't give any spoilers, but will we get? Do you think we'll get to know Natalie better this season? Like, is there anything more we're going to see that will give us a better understanding of her?
Well, I think in season two, because season one was so much of the season one was focused on the Indies and being on the severed floor. I think that like season two is really about getting to know what's above the severed floor. We still have the severed floor, but we're seeing more of Lumen as a whole, like what the company is like, what's happening upstairs, and what's happening in the Audis' lives. So in that way, yes.
All right, that's fair. Uh, what genre do you hope to work in next as an
Hmm.
actress?
Oh man, I want to work in all the genres. Like I want to do theater, film, television, voiceover. I don't know that I think I would like to do a comedy. Something like Arrested Development. Something like that. I love working in drama as well, and that's definitely where I lean. But I think I'm very funny with my friends. I'm very funny in life, and so it would be fun to play just like a ridiculously large character in a comedy.
Very cool. This that one was from the same person. This one's from Livid Patience 8518. What character would you most like to see Natalie interact with?
That's a great
She has
question.
that.
Who have I not interacted with so far? I would like to see Natalie interact more with Weirdly enough, more with Cobell, but also Miss Huang. I think interacting with Miss Huang would be really fun.
That would be cool. Scarlett says you act a lot with your eyes as Natalie. Do you agree or disagree that eyes are the windows for the soul?
Oh, I absolutely agree. For sure. I think that that's so true, and that has been my experience on set. There's so much eye contact, which can be hard in real life. You know, like look, that was one thing that we did in acting school a lot. Is like you have to just stare into people's eyes, and people would like laugh, they would look away, they would cry. It was so uncomfortable, and I think that practicing that is a really good skill because in life we're looking down a lot. We're not looking at each other
Right.
all the time. But it can be a really powerful tool to just lock in and stare into someone's eyes, like I did with Tramel. I think it's absolutely true.
Is other than that, is there anything else that you find in general challenging as you do Natalie? Do you become Natalie?
Challenging.
You talked about the physical, but maybe
Yeah.
there's
I mean, I think it's just challenging in general to put myself in a circumstance where I'm saying things that are affecting people and to kind of almost have to lose. I'm a very sympathetic person and Natalie is empathetic. She can feel what others are feeling, but she's not necessarily sympathetic. And so for me to sometimes remind myself when these wonderful actors are looking at me with bleeding eyes that like I can't be me right now, I can't respond in the way that I, Sydney, would respond, that Natalie is experiencing it differently. And so every once in a while I have to kind of balance that out and be like, don't worry about someone's feelings right now. How would Natalie respond to this person? And so that can be a challenge, but I think it's a great fun challenge to play someone so different from myself, and to just try to understand how this individual communicates with people, because I've certainly been on the receiving end of people like that in my life, and I know what that feels like. So in order to embody that person, like using my own experiences, being on the receiving end, and just observing people can be a challenge. And it can sometimes almost be like sad for a moment until I remember we're playing with our imaginations and no one's actually getting hurt here. That can be a challenge, is I think for any actor really, is just like the removing of the self, but also be pulling from your own experiences, but then pulling from your imagination and bringing yourself to the character, but not commenting on the character can be like a juggling act almost.
that makes sense. Right. Karen, do you have any more? I'm going to double check. Nobody sent me messages since I've put up about it, but do you have anything else you want to ask while I'm doing that?
Well, this is a little, so maybe not directly about Severance, but on our shows, Jamie and I cover a lot of this kind of high concept puzzle box kind of shows, a lot of science fiction. When you're not working, what are the kind of things you like to? Are there genres you prefer to watch, or maybe none? Maybe you're like, oh, I act all day. Let me read a book right now.
Oh,
Um,
I love watching TV. I watch TV all the time. I watch a mix of things. So I just finished watching Deadwood. I had never seen Deadwood before, and that was a wild ride. I really enjoyed that. One of my favorite shows is Bloodline on Netflix. Um, it has Sam Shepard in it, which is just absolutely incredible. I love Silo. Speaking of Apple TV,
Let's say we covered Silent Lunch.
oh, Silo is awesome, and Rebecca Ferguson is incredible in that series. Ozark, I love. Mayor of Easttown was incredible. I mean, I really could go on and on. I watch a ton of TV, and I love watching TV. And I especially am so excited to see what's been going on in the industry with television being like a respected thing, because it's changed so much. Where people used to be like, you can only be a real actor if you're in film. Meanwhile, have always been wonderful shows coming out, but I think it's so exciting that shows are almost like long form films now, and so I love to see that. And there's just so much amazing content out there. So I would say I watch comedy, a lot of drama, usually a lot of dark stuff, honestly, and some sci-fi as well. But I don't know that I have a favorite genre. The only thing that's very hard for me to watch for whatever reason is like super gory, super gory stuff.
Yeah, he's not like me.
Freaks me out and I can't really watch it, but or I watch it and I just cover my eyes for the gory scenes.
See, I always tell everybody because I'm a wuss. I'm the one who looks up the parents' guide to horror. I always do that. I can, but I can be a wuss.
I feel you. I feel you on that.
So Sydney, I won't look for you in the Saw franchise or
Yeah, you do that. I ain't watching it. Sorry.
I'll do it. I'll just squint and close my eyes when the scary stuff comes up.
Do you have any other things besides Severance coming up at all? I don't know if you've been working on anything else, but you want to promote
Yeah, I do have a couple things coming up, but I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about them. So I'm
Mhm.
just gonna play it safe because I like to play it safe.
it?
I did finish a film called After. I worked a day on that, so I can talk about that. I had met this actress on a job that I don't think I can say I did yet, and she was so nice as to recommend me for this 1 day role on a film, and it was like it was so fun because it was the director's first feature, and I love working with people who are experiencing firsts. Like Dan Erickson, this was his like first moment, and he was so excited and just honored to be there. And this director was also so excited to do their first feature. It's just such a beautiful moment to be a part of someone's first. Like, you're going to just be burned into their memory forever. And that enthusiasm is just so lovely to experience because it kind of reminds me of like being a kid and playing pretend and just being totally excited. But hopefully there are more things I can talk about coming up soon.
Mhm.
Well, we'll have to look out for stuff as it becomes available, I
Yes,
guess is the best
please.
way to say that. Do you have anything else, Karen? Or
Yeah,
I
I
think
wanted
I'm
to
pretty
ask you
much
briefly about working with Ben Stiller, and I don't mean because he's like the famous Ben Stiller, but I mean like working with a director who's really known as an actor,
Uh,
a lengthy acting career, I guess largely in film, and I think like he's known for comedy, but he's got like so much great, just a guy. He's like so well rounded, and like for an actor working like with an actor as your director, um, what that's like.
it's great. I absolutely love it. I think that directors who have been actors are really wonderful to work with because they understand what you're doing and they speak a very particular language. Because sometimes I think what can happen is a director has a vision and they would like something, but things can get kind of lost in translation or they might not be able to communicate that to you. And so I think he has such a wonderful way of speaking to actors. And one other thing is that because he's an actor, and because I think the casting was done so well, there's a lot of trust in the actors. He's very clear on what he wants, and he's very clear in the way he communicates it, and he's a very specific person. He's a very hardworking person and intelligent and creative, and so he lets that be known and then gives you free reign to try things. I think that he doesn't put a lot of pressure on like it has to be right the first time. Like he gives you room to explore that, and there's a lot of relaxed freedom in that for me to know that like I can try it a couple of different ways and I can have an idea and he's going to be open to that. And I think because he understands what it takes, he has patience and has trust, and that trust in an actor is the most relaxing thing ever on set. But he's really wonderful, and it's been just an absolute joy to work with him. He's great.
You're gonna be spoiled.
I
Streaming
know,
now.
right? It's been too good of an experience. I'm like, wow, I definitely got spoiled. All these great actors and friendly, super nice people too that are so, decorated but humble at the same time. It's been just awesome. It really has.
that's always good. Well, do you have? I don't want to cut you off, Karen. If you have
No, you
something
got
else,
anything
I
more
know I
from
did so many
fans?
in a row. I think I got through everything. There was quite a few. I think I got them all. But
Good.
yeah, we've had you longer than we expected it to take. So thank you for staying that long.
Oh, of
I greatly
course.
appreciate it, and thank you for coming on, and thank you for everybody for sending in the questions, and for everybody. Make sure you tune into our normal Severance breakdown, Severed Minds, that's on Saturday. So thank you, and we will.
Yeah, thanks so much for
Thank
being with
you.
us.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Thanks for coming.